All right, and we are live with my good friend Justin Wegner. We're going to talk about that more, but folks, welcome to the Power of Man podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I am, as always, your very humble host. Thank you so much for being here today. We have a very special interview for you today. This guy was my first ever interview on this show. He jumped in here when we were nobody and nothing, when we had a handful of downloads and we were struggling trying to, get big. Long before 150 episodes and being downloaded in over 40 countries, let me tell you that. And when I approached this guy the very first time, and I tell this story every time I interview him, I just said, "Hey, man, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Let's talk about your story." And he didn't say, "Well, how many downloads do you have? And is it worth my time?" He just said, "Let's do it. I'm in." And ever since then, I've considered him a friend, considered him a brother, and I've absolutely enjoyed watching his journey from where he started to where he is now. So let me introduce you to Justin Wegner, owner of what is now Day 41 Apparel. Justin, thanks for coming, man.
Man, Rory, thanks for having me. And to everyone listening, uh, congratulations. You found one of the greatest podcast voice I've heard of all time. So I can see why people listen to this in over 40 countries. So thank you so much for having me on. On one thing I'm not new to is the journey. So the fact that you're at 150 episodes tells me you're not quitting and you didn't give up. And I think that that's the biggest testament to people continuing to hop on this train. So thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to continue to share.
Thanks for all that, man. Yeah, it's been a fun journey, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
you and I have a lot in common. We both started similarly, and we both had kind of a similar journey of having to kind of grind it out. Um,
Yeah.
a little bit about your old company, all right, which anybody who's listened to this show for any period of time knows it used to be called Backbone Swag.
Yep.
I was one of the original guys buying stuff from you. I still have my OG T-shirt. It was tough for
Yeah,
me
you
to
do.
tough for me to not wear that today, but I know we're going a
Oh
different
man.
direction now, brother. So I'll I got to pick up some of this Day 41 when we get going. But you started Backbone Swag with nothing. Tell everybody how you kind of got that rolling. I mean, I saw you in your garage, schlepping it with shirts and stuff. I mean, tell everybody your story, quickly on how you got Backbone Swag rolling.
Yeah. So 2018, I left my full-time job. And if anybody listening is if you're in the boat of wondering if you should leave your job or not, um, you know, I'm going to tell you now what I didn't tell people back then is talk with God, because I wasn't talking with God a whole lot back then, but I was, I tell people all the time, it's not that I was a bad person at all, but what's wrong with being better? And that's kind of that mentality that I've had my whole life is I've always just there's got to be more. And I kind of reached that point of curiosity. I didn't know that that was God kind of pricking my heart a little bit. And Lord knows, like now where I'm at, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't just been crazy enough to jump. So 2018, left my full-time job, had a six-figure job, 401k, had all the days off that you can imagine. Matter of fact, the year that I left, I was going to upgrade to another week paid time off. We had one of the greatest work environments. I loved my job. I loved who I worked with. I loved who I worked for. It was a private. It was think we went from a publicly traded company to a private or vice versa. I can't remember. And I think that we went back and forth based on who bought what and at what time. So I'm telling you all that to tell you that I was comfortable. I had a position that I had no right leaving. Like I have a wife and two kids. I have a mortgage. I have two cars. I have every reason that I like every book of excuses that everyone tells themselves like you can't leave a job or you can't jump. I went ahead and did. Um, I don't know how smart that was, but I do know the only way I personally was going to learn how to fly was on the way down, build the airplane on the way down. So I jumped. And then rightfully so, I got my butt handed to me in the first 2 years of business. I mean, I was hitting contract after contract. You know, what I did prior was marketing. I didn't do advertising, but I did everything prior to advertising. I did the websites, I did the graphics, I did the video production, I did all the ads that you saw online for vehicles. I did those. Did them for Hyundai, Honda, Ford. I've done a lot of those projects, and whenever the shutdowns happened, I lost all my contracts, every one of them. I had over $100,000 in contracts at that time, with work on the books ready to go, and they shut down the marketing department. Every contract just is like, hey, we're done. We don't know what's going on right now. We're done. I looked at my wife and I said, she's asking me what we're going to do. And I just quickly glanced over at her. I was literally at this exact desk right here, sitting at a computer, just like this exact computer, just like this. And I looked at her and I was like, well, I'm going to sell those box of shirts. And I had a box of shirts because I'm a hustler and I wanted to, do something cool. I wanted people to wear my shirts. So I created a little brand called Backbone Swag in 2019. 2019 started the brand. I did a monthly subscription for a year, and I had these shirts, and I wanted to do something special with them. And God said, here's a great opportunity, sink or swim. I think you're going to swim. So sell those shirts. Told my wife, I'm going to give away $750 out of those shirts. I did the math at the time, and she looked at me, and I'll never forget, Rory. She looked at me and she said, Justin, right now people owe us so much money. We don't have an account in our bank that has $750. And I said, yeah, that's because I'm going to sell those shirts. 750 is going to come out of those shirts right there. She was like, I don't think she didn't say, I don't remember her saying like, I don't think this is going to work. But I remember seeing the look on her face saying like, wow, have you lost your mind? And I was like, I don't have any other option right now. So I went for it. Rory, I created a Facebook or a web page, a one-page landing page on my website. And I started it on my own personal Facebook page. And I ran it. In 11 days, we did $4,400. And at that time, that was, almost like 25% of what people owed me, maybe 40%, something like that. I can't remember at the time, but I remember thinking, this is working. And what do you do whenever something is working?
Well, you keep going, man.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You don't change.
And
so
if you're you double down on it probably.
Yes, and that's exactly what we did. So we doubled down, we did another giveaway. And then that's whenever I started to realize that my personal Facebook page was losing steam. So we took this little brand of Backbone Swag. I'll start speeding up the story. We took this little brand of Backbone Swag, did 2 giveaways. And then that's whenever me and my wife started running Facebook ads. We started running online advertising. And for those that don't know, me and my wife, we're a team, totally a team. She does all of our Facebook advertising. So any Facebook ad that you see, I do the creative, but she runs all the ads. We'll work together on like some of the back end stuff, but she does it. She's pulling the levers, she's posting stuff, and we work together on that. So yeah, we went hard on Backbone Swag since 2019 and into 2020. And then we, just like anything, if it's working, don't break it, keep doubling down, invest everything I have. And what Rory is alluding to is whenever I bought my first screen printing press, like an actual manual press, it was a 6-color 4-head 4-platen press. So it was a 6-4, so you can do 6 colors. Had a conveyor belt dryer that we still use today. And it was good. It was good. And just like anything, we outgrew the warehouse here in our garage, in our office. And I have some pictures. I can send you after this that I found recently of the office I'm sitting in right now, loaded with shirts, like wall to wall, almost half of the wall height, just full of just folded shirts.
I would love
And
that, man. Yeah, please send those over. I mean,
yeah,
we'll use those to promote the podcast. I mean, somewhere
yeah,
that's I'd love to
yeah.
see that stuff.
So yeah, I'll send you those, and that's that's where it started. And then that's the history of Backbone Swag, and we took it all the way up until April of 2024. So end of March was the end of that chapter. And so that's the background of Backbone Swag. And like Rory had said, we had gotten 65,000 customers in the course of the years. And what's really cool about our brand is not many people just bought one shirt. We built a brand. We built uh, a following that people wanted to be a part of, and that was really special to me because a lot of it was based off of the things that you speak about on your podcast. I've been through a really hard time. Me and my wife have seen some really, really dark valleys over the course of our 10-year marriage. 11 years, sorry.
You don't want to get that wrong,
11
man.
years. We've seen, kind of like that. What is it? One of those also like insurance company commercials. Like, we've seen a thing or two.
Yeah.
And I growing up at 12 years old, I had to start working to help pay for bills for my family. Same with my wife. Nothing was handed to us. Everything was, built from the ground up. So yeah, that's the history of it.
Okay. I mean, we could talk about this forever. Yeah, and we
Yeah,
have
for sure.
on a couple of
Yeah.
podcasts, so because there's so much to your story. But I want to wrap it together a little bit here because I know it. So I want, my listeners to be able to follow along where I want to take them today. Um, we definitely want to talk about the new company.
Mhm.
Um, you did it for a little over 4 years, sounds like, right?
Actually,
5?
2019. So if we would have stayed until the end of May with that other company, we would have made it 5 years.
So darn near 5 years. Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. Got you. So, you put in basically 5 years, building
Yeah.
this thing up. All right.
Mhm.
And then inexplicably to all of us as your fans, as your followers, as your customers, because I have more than one shirt too. I have several
Yeah.
shirts. You are right. When I say, my backbone swag shirt, I talk about my first one I ever got because, it's always going to be my favorite.
Yeah.
But all of them are awesome. I wear them all the time. And you took this brand, you know what I mean, that we loved, and you just said, "I'm done." I mean, you put
Mhm.
your heart and your soul and your life and everything into this, and you and your family, and you struggled and toiled and busted it out, and then something hit you, and we're going to talk about that. And then you just said, "I'm done." Right? Tell me the story. All right, and tell me what happened, how it hit you, and then where you ended up with the new company, Day 41 Apparel, which I love. Okay. I was there for your announcement when you told all of us in your private Facebook group of thousands of people what you were doing and why. And I know why you did that way because you wanted to tell the folks who had been there and who had been supporting you and the whole bit. And I respected the heck out of that. I thought it was awesome. But I also know that you didn't like go broadcast it to the whole world either. You told the select group and then boom, the change. So,
Mhm.
a lot of folks are probably sitting there going, wait a minute, what happened? I am still intrigued by, and I know that our listeners are going to be too, but what happened to make Justin Wegner make this move, start this new thing? Tell us your story, brother.
Um, it's simple. It's one word. It's the thing that we all have access to. It's the person we have all access to. And most of us live our entire life only finding access at the end of our life. And if anybody is listening to this right now and you're struggling with the idea of God, I want to tell you that God is the reason for the change. and it happened through people, So don't shut this podcast off yet, because I'm saying God is the reason, because there is a whole lot of dominoes that had to fall for me to be able to even say that publicly anywhere other than in my house. Okay. Think about most people whenever they're on the relationship and the journey with discovering God. A lot of people talk privately. They do not publicly announce this stuff. And imagine having a brand that has a shirt with a curse word on it, and the owner saying, "I found God." Like, sometimes I try to put myself in other shoes to view me, how I'm speaking about it. And what would I do? And what would I say? And how would I approach it? And I would be like, man, that dude's crazy. Like, if I didn't know God, I'd be like, that's insane. You just threw away a multi-million-dollar brand. That's how some people perceived it. As we unrolled this whole thing, as we took this direction and we just went for it, people were saying, this is the stupidest move you've ever done.
You had people who were in the group pleading with you to not do it.
Yeah.
They were like, please don't do this, as if you hadn't already made the decision.
Yeah. I'll say I was at Shields in this is kind of the start of it, and where I was wondering, like, a lot of people will ask the younger generation, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and start making steps to get there. I was in Shields and I saw all the displays of all the apparel. I go to any store and I'm looking at the apparel. How are you printing it? How's the stitching? How's the display? How's the background of the display? How's your logo displayed? How's the hang tags look? What does the inside label look like? I am looking at everything. I'm in Shields and I'm like, this is before I was really getting any really true connection with God. Because remember, just because you say you have a connection with God online doesn't mean you really truly do. And that's
right.
That I fell into that trap. I fell into the trap of saying, if I just speak it enough, like, God will know that I have a connection with him. So I was in Shields and I had this like nudge, like, do I see Backbone swag in here? Do I see it in here? And Rory, I couldn't. I could not see that brand in a Shields.
Wow.
And that's when I knew this was not it. That was the first thing. I was like, I text my buddy Jonathan Moore, and I before I even left the parking lot, before I said anything to my wife, I said, I think it's time to take the brand a new direction. I don't know what it is. I said, if you could pray, that would be awesome. He said, yeah, man, I will.
What did your wife say when you told her that you were getting ready to do this?
This was in February 2024. When you have enough people say something, it kind of starts to plant a seed. And the more people say the same thing, that seed starts to get watered and it sprouts to whatever it's going to sprout. And we had enough people not like the name Backbone Swag. They hated the backbone part, or they hated the swag part, and we would catch hate from it all the time.
Wow.
So that's the okay, this domino is like the one that's going to cascade all of the rest of the change in 2024. But there was a year's worth of work to get to that point. And I want to speak on that year's worth, because that's the year in the darkness that people don't see. That's the year that people are curious about and they don't see. So I'm going to share this with your listeners first. And this is the first podcast I'm speaking this to, and I want to be able to share this with others. So your listeners are going to hear this first. So you're listening to this, you're hearing this first, and I haven't spoken about this before. I went to lunch with a friend of mine, Jonathan. He's a pastor, in 2023, and like Maybe it was the end of 2022. And then we went to lunch again in 2023 in February, March, somewhere around there. And I remember having a conversation. He was asking me how it's going. And I just told him, I said, man, it's rough. Like financially, it's rough. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, we're selling a $30 t-shirt and people are getting upset about us selling a $30 t-shirt. And I am in more debt than I've ever been in. Like, I keep rolling everything back into the business. My family's not going without, but it was slim pickings. It was hard. Like, I things were not going the way that I thought that they should go. At least for being 4 years in business. Because everywhere I've heard, you make it to 3, you're good as could be.
Sure.
I guess that's what I've heard. So have that meeting with him, and he said, Justin, have you asked God to bless your business? I sat there like, no. He's like, have you prayed lately? And I hadn't. And those are the 2 easiest, hardest answers I've ever given. Is like, I haven't done what I know I need to do.
Yeah.
And I haven't done what I know I needed to do, but I also haven't done what I've told other people to go do. What kind of hypocrite am I? That's what I was thinking. And I said, man, that's hit hard. I left there, and we went on to have a great conversation. And he said, God wants to be a part of your life. You just got to let him in. Like, that's the only way you're going to start this relationship with him. I said, you know what? I'll try it. And I got in my truck and I prayed. I said, God, I know we haven't talked in a long time. You know, you have a brand that's built on this being self-reliant. And sometimes that can be the way in which you choose to live, so much so that you think you can do it all on your own. And I'm here to share with everyone, you can't. You can only go so far. You can only carry the torch so long in the darkness before God says, come to me. All those who are heavy and laden burden, come to me. And I prayed in my truck before I left, and I left, and I drove. I had an hour to get to the warehouse, and I drove there, and I could feel this, like, something has to change, and I have to start figuring out how to change it. And I asked him, what can I read in the Bible? Like, because he says, read your Bible. He said, start with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Like, just go read them all. Have you ever read them? I said, no, I've never read them. Never read them all. I've read parts of them. I've read parts of the Bible, but I've never read the entire gospel. So I started the next morning. I got up, had my monster quiet time, grabbed my Bible, and I started reading. And I read in Matthew, and it was all the lineage of everybody in the history of the world at the time. And I was like, this is boring. So I kept reading.
That's not a small assignment of reading either. I mean, if folks
No,
are
and
familiar with the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is not like 5 pages.
No, it's not. And so I started reading a little bit every day, because how are you going to be able to handle the big things if you can't do the small things? So I was like, if I can't read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what is God going to trust me with? So I went at it every single day. I didn't tell my family I was doing this. I didn't tell Lindsay I was doing this. Lindsay's my wife, for those that don't know. But I didn't tell my wife I was doing this. I didn't announce it on social media. Hey, guys, I'm going to start getting up every single morning. I'm going to read my Bible. I never announced it. Never did it. Just started. Then after the first couple of weeks, I was like, whoa, I'm starting to feel a change. I'm starting to feel God. I'm starting to feel like there's more to this. And I kept reading, and I got through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And after I finished John, I was like, things were starting to click. Like, Jesus walked with people like me. Jesus is walking with people like me right now. Like, things are shifting. My mind is starting to shift, and I'm starting to share that on social media rather than this, like, macho me, go, you want to run through a brick wall, you're going to be the only one. Like that's not me anymore. Like, you want to run through a brick wall, you better get with God. You want to move a mountain, you're going to have to get with God. So this is that year where I spent, this is literally March 2023. I started this journey. In July of 2023 was whenever I started to feel the calling of I have to start putting more apparel out that points people to this, not me. It has to be about God and not me. Because at the end of this life, what I was learning in the Bible is if you say you have a connection with God and you get up there to introduce yourself to him and he goes, I do not know you, you're toast. You ain't getting in. And that was a real hard pill to swallow. Like, I could just say I have a connection to this one true God and God doesn't know me, so I'm not getting in. Whoa. What kind of, the analogy I've heard numerous times is like, somebody comes and knocks on your door and they say, I want to come in, and you don't know them. Are you going to let them in?
No, of course not.
But if I showed up at your front door, what would happen?
Yeah, I'd let you in. I know you. 100%.
God, how's God going to know you if you're not reading his word? How's God going to know you if you're not connecting to him with prayer?
Yeah.
How is, like, God knows your heart, but do you know his?
That's a question not too many people ask themselves, man.
And I went through this year of reading the Bible, and I've read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John over again and over again. And I've read through, I get every day. The reason for this year, what I was doing was because I kept facing, I don't know what to read. Guess what? There's plenty of apps out there that say, here's the Bible verse of the day. A lot of people stop at reading that verse. They don't go read the chapter. I went to read the chapters of the verse of the day because there's so much context in there that will help you throughout your day. People get, and that's what people do in life. They take these highlight reels that people post and they hold themselves in comparison to that. They don't know the year it took for me to transition this entire brand over in the dark. So I went on. I kept going. We released in July of 20, what I was about to say, in July of 2023, we released our first type of apparel that had something pointing to someone else. And that was God. It was our Work Hard, Trust God t-shirt.
Trust God. Yeah, work hard, trust God. Exactly. I remember that.
In July of 2023. Yeah. And before, I remember sitting at this desk the night before the release, and I was so like, God, if this is not what I'm supposed to do, will you please stop this train before I just wreck it? Like, I don't want to do any more of this on my own. I can't do it on my own. I know I need you, and I need your help here. Like, is this the right thing to do? And I had no inkling to tell me to let off the brake at that point. So I was like, let's go. I released a shirt, our first faith-based shirt, to a secular brand without telling anyone. It's our 4 people in our warehouse and my wife. This is what I'm going to announce. This is what I'm going to release. And I mean, again, my wife looked at me, not in doubt, but like,
are you crazy?
Here we go. I hope, ready or not, here we go. So
see,
we released.
I remember that. Let me just interject real quick because I remember that. I mean, I follow you. I follow the brand. I remember that shirt coming out, and I remember my reaction to that shirt. And I was like, oh wow. I mean, awesome. I mean, I was very favorable about it, but it was markedly different from what you had been putting out. Now, and I think that, and pardon me for bringing this up, but I think you lost somebody near that time, right?
Yeah, we had lost my my wife's aunt. She died
Prior
She
to that.
died in April of that year. No, it's okay.
Right. Because my first thought was, you're very open on your socials. If people don't follow you on your socials, they don't understand. I mean, you bear everything on your socials, brother. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why you connect with so many people is because you're so unbelievably authentic about who you are and how you feel. And so any of us who knew you, and followed you, knew that that impacted you hard. So I think that when I first saw the shirt come up, I thought maybe it was just related to that. Like you wanted to pay a little homage to, your aunt, and you were just feeling that maybe, like you're in the feels,
I-
so to speak. And I'm like, okay,
you
hey,
know,
you know what? Go for it because I love this shirt. But you were transitioning the whole thing,
the entire brand, I
and
started
none of us even
grabbing
knew it.
the, yeah, no, like in looking back on it, I could totally see how you connected that dot thinking that that was the connection, but that was absolutely not at
Yeah.
all. Like it was actually hard for me to start this journey, working with God and talking to God and building this relationship. All the while, she had been telling me about this for years. Like, and as she's laying in a coffin 6 feet in the ground, I'm looking down and I'm like, man, like God, we just started, and I kind of want her. I want her to witness this. I want her to witness what I'm about to do with you. Like I want, and maybe this is the way that she gets to see it all the time. I don't know. But anytime I shared anything vulgar online, she would just always tell me, like, Justin, you don't have to use words like that. You don't have to do that. And then so many times I would just tell her, like, I know, Kathy, but just let me be me. Like, just let me be me, please. Like, quit,
Right.
So it was I could see how you tried to connect that dot and how connecting that dot would make sense. But no, that this was my first shirt to tell the world this is what I believe in, and buckle up because I'm about to have the hardest work of all of us.
I think I started to feel like it was, more of a direction when the No Weapon Formed shirt came out.
Mhm.
And I mean that's been a really popular shirt for you guys, from what I can tell.
It has. No, it's definitely been one of our biggest, most impactful shirts we've ever done. And to me, that verse, I hear a lot of people tell us in the comments, well, no weapon formed against you doesn't mean that they won't. So what do you do then? And not to mock them in a negative way, but I wish some people could see, just like whenever I said with Backbone Swag, like we're our own worst enemy. Like I was in my way for almost 5 years of a brand. And 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 I don't disclose this information much because it's not the metric I see as success anymore. But if you want to look at success as anything, I've been through now 5 years of business as an entrepreneur, looking at quarterlies. In this last quarter, the quarter that we changed the entire brand, that's our best quarter ever in business,
Wow.
ever, by a lot.
I mean, congratulations, but that's not what you expect when you change something like that.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. As a matter of fact, if you look at April, like April 1st, we announced the release and it went, it was like atrocious. Like we were like, oh my God. Lindsay, even I remember her saying, like, did we do the right thing? And I said, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know, like, I don't know how else to tell people this, but like, if you don't appreciate this direction and what I'm trying to do for you, then I don't know that I'm right for you right now. I am, and I should be open to God. But but a lot of people like to make their own God.
That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Yeah, they like to think that this God is the God that they can just like post a verse about, and well, God would be okay with me doing this because I've served him there, or I've done this. And that's not God doesn't say that. As a matter of fact, what I read, and this is what I love so much about reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John last year, was I love being able to read in the scripture, the Bible. This thing has been true, and it's been the living word since it's been written, is you can live your entire life perfect. You can buy the T perfect. But if God does not know you and you do not know him, you're not in. You're not getting in. That's why when Jesus was hanging on the cross, one on each side of him are people who, one guy was like, you're a joke. And the other one was like, please forgive me. I know now. And to think that inside of us, we each have those people on the other side of us too. And we get to choose every single day. Do we want to be the person that's going to continue to not believe, or do we want to be the person that's going to say, Father, forgive me? Or are we going to say, Father, whatever? Like, for 4 years in a brand, I was saying, watch me. I'll do it myself, whatever. And then now, the amount of, the only word that's coming to mind is humility that I've had to have through this. The humbleness has been like, this crow has been good. I've had to eat so much of my words that nothing that I said back then was bad, but it was not rooted in true faith. It was rooted in this worldly faith that we've tried to say is okay in this lifetime.
Yeah.
It's okay to do that. It's okay to be you. Yeah, just do you. YOLO.
All right. Wow. You're right. I've never heard all that before, brother.
Yeah, that's the year, right? Like, that's the year prior to me officially announcing in February and March of 2024. This was prior to going to the Shields. The Shields was that was it. I was like, and do I think that Day 41 could be in Shields? I absolutely do, but I think a lot of the secular world would not want it in there. But I think that this brand could. But
Sure.
We live in a world where people like to display their faith in private. People want to talk about God in private. And I'm sitting here saying, like, what if you gave God a chance publicly? And I'm not saying you're a martyr, but I'm saying, what if you gave him a chance publicly with other people? Like, how could you save them? Like, you could be the person, like, if somebody never has seen or felt Jesus before and they talk to you and they felt him for the first time from you, what could the world look like? So I started living that way.
I just said almost that exact same thing 2 podcasts ago.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. It's amazing to hear that, from you right now. I mean, I know that you feel like you were called to do this, to make this shift. Safe to say, you're not in your head. Yeah, for sure. I mean, between you, me, and the fence post and all these listeners, did you ever doubt it? Did you ever sit there and, I mean, even Moses doubted it at one point, you know what I mean? But were you ever like, man, I don't know if I should do this, or have you been the crusader going, this needs to be done. I'm doing this. I'm breaking through walls, whatever needs to be done.
I think nobody's ever asked me that, if I've doubted.
I think you've said that to me on my podcast every time I've interviewed you. I've always gotten at least one question in where you've never even thought about it before, which I love. I take pride in that.
Yeah, I mean, as you should. That's a good interview question. Here's my stance. My knee-jerk reaction is no, I didn't doubt. But my real answer would be somewhere in the middle, like, God, I don't doubt this, but like, and I know the end goal is to point people to you, but what does my life look like during this? Like, how 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 painful is this going to get? How how hard is this going to be? How, like, how steep is this climb going to be, God? Like, I think I've been asking those questions. I've not been doubting. I've not said like, well, God, I don't know that this was the right move. No, I've always been like, no, this is the move. I told my wife that. No, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like, I have this like unrealistic, sometimes blind faith. I think that I know this is what we're supposed to be doing. I just wonder, on to the new name with the 40 days, right? Like, what kind of person would I be if to have an apparel brand where I'm sharing with people, get to your day 41, that I would be doubting my 40th day. I can't. I can't.
Right.
I almost can't. Like, I almost have to be like, you know what? Chin up, buttercup, let's go. Like, God, like, whatever we need to do, you tell me. Like, let it be known to me that this is where I'm supposed to walk and what I'm supposed to do and who I'm supposed to talk to. Almost every prayer I have just a simple thing, like, God, put the people in front of me that I need to impact for you. Don't make this about me, but I need to impact for you. Just put those people in my life and let you go to them through me.
Well, and that's the perfect segue because, a huge question that a lot of folks, want to know is, the name.
Yeah.
Not everybody understands it. You did a great job in the private group, talking about why and what it means and everything else. But to the average Joe on the street who has seen Backbone Swag, maybe have a couple shirts, they weren't, in the group, or they weren't in the group that day, and they're going, day 41, what does that mean? What's it about? What's the significance? So tell people, man.
Yeah. So it came to me through a post that my grandfather, he's my step granddad, but like, he and I are really close. He's been a very big advocate for me through Backbone Swag days. He and my grandmother, um, they've been the support without without the negative. They've had things that they've wanted to say and they've just chosen to be nice about it and not say it, which I think they know that, I think that's when you know that you have the right people in your corner whenever they're willing to, like I said, the guy that helped me change all this is a pastor. He's my friend Jonathan. It's not like he was my friend just on one day and he decided to say, like, have you been praying? No, like, he was my friend for years. He was my friend prior to Backbone Swag days. He was my friend prior to leaving my full-time job. Like, he was there. He's a friend and he's a pastor and he didn't judge me and he didn't, put me through this ringer of hating Bible thumpers, right? He didn't. He was one of the first people. And so, post that my grandfather shared, it led me on this journey of researching what 40 represents in the Bible. The number 40 shows up over 100 times in the Bible. And if you want to know the true meaning of Backbone Swag, it was simply just don't quit. And don't
100%.
quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Don't quit. Get through your hard days. Good days are coming. Well, whenever he shared this post, it hit me. Like, I knew that this is like what I was supposed to do. Like, the name's in here. Like, the name's in here. And it was a viral post about 41 going around. And I knew it was in there. And I showed Lindsay the post and I was like, I screenshot it and I was like, we had literally had dinner. And in that dinner, right before we ate, we prayed. And I said, God, can you please send me a sign that we know that this is the name that we need to use on our brand, like that points people to you. We got up from dinner and I get my phone and I go to social media and I see that post and I was like, whoa. And I screenshot it that night. And I showed Lindsay, I was like, the name's in here. And she's looking at me like, my wife is super, super great with finances. She's great with moving money around. She's great with forecasting this. Like, she is great with that. But she is not the greatest when it comes to seeing things that aren't tangible. Like, you almost have to say, do you see this cell phone? It's on. And she won't see that it's on until it's on. And I'm not saying that like a rudimentary type thing, but that's just her. She's always been that way. Where me, I'm like, you see that blank wall? I can draw something on that wall. Like, I can draw this cool landscape of this plane and this buffalo and this cross. Like, and she's like, I do not see it. But I can see it clear as day.
Well, that's why you guys work,
Yeah, no, the yin and the yang thing. She is the perfect person for me, even as hard as our hardest days have ever been. I know that we were meant to walk this life together. Showed her that post, she didn't see it. Then I was just kind of like bummed. Like, I was like, well, she didn't see it, so like it must not be there. The next morning I get up, Rory, and I start getting ready for my day, and I check social media, and there was another post that somebody shared, and it was almost the same thing. And I was like, it's here. Day 41 Apparel. And I texted that screenshot I took of my grandfather's. I texted to my buddy Jonathan. He was like, so is it Day 41 Apparel? Like, question mark. And I was like, yep, that's it. And he was like, I love it. I got up that morning. By 9 o'clock, I had all my DBAs filed. I had everything in motion. And this was me knowing what I was doing and what the things that I was changing, and I didn't announce it to anyone. Like, I went to the warehouse and I told everybody the new name, and I was like, this is the direction. Everyone was excited. They were pumped about it. I think they knew my heart was in the right spot, but then now through this, they 100% knew that we were on this mission together, and we knew what we were doing. We knew that this was for God. Now, it wasn't for Justin. It wasn't for Justin and Lindsay. It was for God. It was, we're all marching in this direction for God now. With this name, with everything that we had done 8 months prior, we knew that this was it. And that's whenever I made the announcement in the group. I was like, hey, I got the new name. I want to share it with you guys. You guys are going to know first. And this is, and as I was explaining the name to the group, this is what it's been hard to transition. Our entire journey through it has been, I can't go on social media on every one of our paid Facebook ads and say, Backbone Swag is Day 41 now, because here, Day 40 shows up and over 100 times in the Bible, and it doesn't like, you do not want to quit, because God is going to be there on Day 41. God is going to show up. God is going to reveal himself. God is going to show you these things, because people would not understand it. The people who are seeing us for the first time wouldn't understand it. The people who've known us for so long, they're going to be like, okay, I've heard this, done. I understand. I'm either with it or I'm not. So yeah, Day 41 is, don't quit on Day 40. Don't quit on your 40, whatever it is. Could be your 40th day of working out, and you're like, I'm not seeing a change. And Day 41, God gives you a new vision. He gives you new eyes to see the things that have changed. That's what Day 41 represents.
I'm just smiling. Yeah, I'm just smiling right now, because this didn't occur to me the whole time I've been following you and listening to what you've been talking about. But all your messages from Backbone Swag, right? Don't, freaking quit.
Don't quit.
I mean, find a way, around. Go ahead and doubt me. That'll be fun. I mean,
never quit.
Yeah. I mean, every message you've ever had on any of those shirts is, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. So, I mean, you didn't just like get called recently. You've always been on this path, but you couldn't see where you had to go. You know what I mean? It's like, you've always been on this path, and God said, if I'm going to put him on this path, I can't put him directly to Day 41, because he's going to go, yeah, he's not ready.
Yeah.
So to me, it looks like he put you on this path when you first started Backbone Swag, sitting there in your, in your office, your living room,
when I
And
thought I could do it on my own.
right.
Yeah, that's what God does, right? I think
Yeah.
that's where everyone, they love to say that God has a sense of humor without realizing that sometimes a sense of humor is going to mean you're going to have to go through some pain.
He had to make you ready.
Yeah, he has to. Like, the diamond isn't shown to the person who just sees it first. You gotta put some work in
Yeah.
it.
That's
Yeah.
really something, brother. That is really something.
So it's kind of like the message has been the same, but now it's rooted
Right.
in the word. It's rooted in the Bible. It's rooted in what God says about us. It's rooted in what the living word
Well, and you had to
versus
learn that
what
lesson yourself before you could teach it to everybody else.
the hard way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's starting this in 2019, how would I have known in 2024 this is where I'd be?
Yeah, you wouldn't have.
I made that post, not too long ago, where I was like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, could I see myself here? No, I couldn't have. In 5 years, I couldn't have. But I had to just start at day one, and I had to just follow this, like, what is it? Not Braveheart. One of the, it's a Disney movie because my kids. It's the Brave. It's just Brave. That girl with the arrow, where the little
Yeah.
imaginary dots show up to her, leading her to certain areas, right? I feel like that's what Backbone Swag was for me. I didn't know, but I felt so right in doing it. Like, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to go. This is, Lindsay, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to sell these shirts, do a $750 giveaway. We're supposed to double down on it. We're supposed to do Facebook ads. And we're supposed to let this go 4 years. And then God's going to get a hold of us financially because we can't make ends meet. And then he's going to put Jonathan in my life at a lunch to tell me that I need to let him in the business. I need to pray to him. And then boom, we're going to shift the entire brand towards him and point people towards him, because that's what God keeps putting on Justin's heart. I didn't know that. There's no way I would have known that.
No way. He knew it. He knew it for you, but you had no idea. And the whole time you're sitting there doing that little, soliloquy, I'm going, I can picture your wife's face.
Yeah.
The whole time, like, what are you
Justin, what are
talking
you
about?
doing? Yeah. So
That is absolutely awesome, man. I knew that there was a lot more behind the story, and I know, like you said, I know you can't just go on and tell everybody in an Instagram clip, everything about it. You just you got to do it, So, wow, the true
yeah.
story of where Day 41 Apparel came from. Finally,
Yeah.
got it. Awesome, man. Well, and you've been doing this how long now? It's just months, just a few months.
What that?
What's up?
Day 41?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing Day 41. Yeah,
Yeah.
just since April 1st. April 1st of this year was the first official day. We swapped everything the end of March.
Wow. And then you had your best quarter you ever had.
Yes, we did. It was a strong quarter.
And in this economy, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. We've been blessed with a lot of challenges too. Like, growing pains. We warehouse out of Texas in the summertime. This is usually whenever things are slow, so we shut down early. We've had to go longer. We're trying to figure out ways to work around the heat. We're trying to figure out ways to get ahead, because every time we felt like we were printing enough no weapon, like, we would come in the next day and be -50, and I was like, golly, like, let's order another 200,
Right.
and let's keep building. And yeah, it's been amazing, in a biggest blessing, because we are able to give back and show people that this isn't about us, it's about God. I think sometimes people need to see people doing that, and then they'll do it. So somebody's got to lead. And if this is me, accumulating 4 years worth of people who are this, like, self-proclaimed, awesome adversary to themselves and themselves only, and then I introduce them to somebody who can help alleviate a lot of the pain that they've been going through, like, if that's my job, cool.
Hey, when you're
I'll take
called, you
it.
got to listen.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Wow, man. I mean, I wanted to hear the story, but I love it when even I'm kind of surprised at what I'm hearing. You know, because I go into these interviews and I got a pretty good idea what I'm gonna hear. You know what I mean? And it's not often um, that I'm hit with revelation of some kind. You know, in an interview. So you've been doing this the whole time. That's amazing to me
And
to
I
to
didn't
have to
know it.
swallow. Yeah,
I didn't know it until the transition happened. And then I look at it and I'm like, whoa, like,
beautiful.
because every message I've ever put out has always been about like positivity, like of all kind. Um, so yeah.
All right. All right. Wow. I'm taken aback. I'm not usually speechless. So that's pretty good, brother. All right. You know, I usually ask, especially entrepreneurs, about advice. You've given a ton of advice to guys who are out there, running their own thing, wanting to
Mhm.
build their own thing, wanting to find their own way. Um, you've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of mutual friends, that you've worked with, and that have their own companies. Maybe they're not where they want to be. Maybe they're stuck in some fashion. You not only built one, but then followed your heart, followed your faith, and transitioned into another one, which by all accounts is going to be wildly successful again. Um, what advice do you have for those guys that feel like in their lives or in their businesses, they are just simply stuck? Like they don't really know where to go, tomorrow. They don't know what to do next. And they're just sort of looking around like, now what?
Um, so short answer is just put God first. Like that's absolutely short answer. Um, the follow up and long term answer to that question is I like to, I didn't realize I did this, but I do like to speak in analogies, and Jesus spoke in parables, and it's almost the same thing. Um, and in no way am I saying I'm anywhere near Jesus at all. So
Nobody's
please,
taking it that way. Don't worry.
please don't take it that way. Um, but most times, guys, I would imagine maybe most of your listeners are guys, but any women who are listening, um, men or women, we need parental figures to kind of help us. Like, are we making this right step? Are we good? Um, and some of us didn't have a parent to assure us of those steps. But what Jonathan reminded me of by just simply asking, have you asked God to bless your business? It it made me realize that was me accepting a father figure into my business, to be able to say, God, be with me on this step. I, I don't know what the results going to be. I don't, but I do know that I'm with you. And if this is what we're supposed to do, just please bless this step, bless this next step. And putting God first every single um, juncture you come to, I don't think is merely enough. I think the walk with God has to be one that's daily. That's why I said the short answer is put God first. Seriously,
Yeah.
it's never like, we know that to be successful in life, the more you just look historically at anybody who's been successful, um, and what people typically see as success is financial. And I know I used to be victim to that, but I no longer think that that's the metric. But the worldly view of success is financially. More people have been successful because they're financially here or here or here. They have a jet, or they have this car, or they have this house. That's not success to me. But if I'm going to relate something to the worldly view of success, if you look at people who are by definition of worldly successful, those people have done one thing really well. They have helped other people. Over time, their motive for helping other people will reveal itself. Was it a good motive? Or was it a bad motive? So as entrepreneurs, if you're listening to this and you want some advice, just help people. Help other people. And if you want to know how that fits in biblically, go read Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Pick anyone. Doesn't have to be in that order, just anyone. That's what Jesus did, just helped people. And guess what? Just like Jesus, you're going to be ridiculed for helping people. You're going to be ridiculed on how you help them. You're going to be ridiculed on when you help them. You're going to be ridiculed on every step of the way. But if you keep it just by putting God first and doing what Jesus would do, helping other people, I don't think you can go wrong, even if you don't have the relationship with God yet. I don't think you can go wrong. I think long term, you're going to have to let God in, and you're going to have to let that relationship start by succumbing to the thing that you do not want to do. Most men don't want to surrender. And I had to surrender to know that my wife's going to come in the living room and see me reading a Bible. My kids are going to see me not cussing. Like, I haven't cussed one time in this podcast.
I know.
I'm pretty sure the last one I let some rip. So if you want to see this change, go listen to the first one and this one.
Yeah. I mean, that is a change. You're right.
The fruits of your journey will reveal themselves in due time. And that will be the telltale sign. Did you really truly help people? Did you change to help other people, or were you changing? This is why I said where that motive is going to come in. Like, in a year, everyone will see the fruit of what we've been doing. I won't have to say anything.
Right. I love it, man. I knew you'd have a good answer to that one. I didn't even prep you for that. I mean, everybody should know I didn't prep you for that.
I didn't prep me for any of this.
I never do. I never do. And the reason I don't is because I want authentic, real answers. You know what I mean? And I mean, you never disappoint, brother. You're always like the easiest interview in the world, because you just you're in touch with yourself like that. I mean, I ask you a question and you just tell the truth. You're not worried about how you're looking. You just always tell me the truth. And I just think that's special. That's awesome. That's why I love talking to you.
I wish that wasn't special. I really do. I really truly wish that wasn't a trait that surprised people to see in other people. I've just never been that kind. Like, you won't find me being two-faced. You won't find me being somebody that I'm not.
Right.
It serves no one. It definitely doesn't serve God. And it's not going to serve you long term. Like, that's whenever people get in a situation where they want to off themselves. Like, I get it. I've been in those shoes, man. Like, don't fall victim to the imposter syndrome. Just be who God made you. Right. Answer Rory's questions authentically. Answer the president's questions authentically. Like, just be you. Like, anyway.
Amen, brother. I love it. I always love talking to you, man. Thank you for making time to be on the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Let me best way for folks to reach you. I'll put it all in the show notes, of course, so that they can see it, click on it, but just tell them, okay, in case they want to do it right now on their phones, or something. Best way for them to reach you and Day 41 Apparel.
Yeah, I would just go to our Facebook or Instagram, which is Day 41 Apparel. 41 is numeric. Website is day41.com, so it's spelled out there. That's just what we have to do. And we've really wanted that look and feel online. And you have any questions? We have a customer support team. She's really great. They're stateside, and they're our customer support team. They're actually moving from Texas to Nebraska, so we're sad to lose half of them, but we're excited for their journey. But our customer support team, she's going to stay with us, and she has, if there's any requests that come through, she filters them and gets them directly to me. So you got anything, send us an email.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the lessons that you always bring to this podcast, my friend.
It's an
And
honor.
I
Thank you for
really,
having me.
really, I really, really appreciate you and your time.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So, hey, folks, you have heard for the third time in this podcast, my friend Justin Wegner. And I encourage you guys, if you want to see someone who's on a journey guided by God, and we now know that's exactly what it's been. Go back to the first podcast, which is in the 30s. I think it's episode 36. But if you get to 36, you'll see Justin in one of those episodes, and you're there. Um, you go back and listen to him in the first episode ever. And yeah, you were a little rougher, a little cruder, my brother. But
Definitely rougher around the edges.
yeah, and then go to episode 100, because when I have one of those sort of monumental episodes, the ones that are big and sort of make a difference. I love to talk to this guy. So he was my episode 100, and he had made some changes and definitely had evolved, quite a bit since episode 1 in his business and his personal life. But was not quite where he is today. And then you listen to this one, folks, and I think you see, a man who's on a journey, and you see a man who's on a path and who's being guided on that path. And I think it's something that we all need desperately. Look at yourselves, everybody. Look at yourselves. Look at your faith. Look at what you're missing in your life. There is a way to find it. You are worth it. You're worth the work. And at some point, just like my friend here, you got to believe it. Until next time.